to students who are supposed to be beneficiaries of fee-free higher education, there's no confusion. We are meeting with the university vice chancellors, the principals of TVET colleges, students' organizations, and various other sectors today throughout into the week to understand what could be the challenges that they're confronted with. But essentially, what the president announced was that over the next 5 years, we will be facing in fee-free higher education at post-school education and training institutions, meaning universities and TVET colleges. So for the first-time entrants who qualify, whose parents' joint income does not exceed 350,000 rands, they qualify for fee-free higher education.
Is that of 2018?
That's 2018.
Okay.
So if you've made an application to a university, you've been granted a space, you've made an application to the National Student Financial Aid Scheme, they will make an assessment of whether you do qualify for this, and then they will give you a bursary. And for those students who are doing their second, third, and fourth year, those students, their loan will then be turned into a grant. And thirdly, all of these students will obviously have to enter into some academic performance commitment and post school commitment, be it community service or anything of the sort. So it's not essentially free in that students will not pay fees, but there should be commitment commitments on their part in terms of what is it that they're going to do after they get qualified for the country.
Okay, now the presidency also reported that it's not only going to be covering tuition, it's also going to be subsidizing transport costs and accommodation costs. Where essentially are they going to be getting the money from this?
Well, Treasury will be making an announcement. The Minister of Finance, as part of his budgetary statement, will make an announcement in terms of the allocation with regards to this.
Are universities ready to handle this? Registrations are taking place this week and lectures are set to start in the next couple of days.
Yes, universities are ready to handle this. There is, I think, the idea that this is spectacularly new is actually very ridiculous. Universities have been doing this for the last 3 to 4 years, since there was a parent, I think, who collapsed at the University of Johannesburg about 3 to 4 years ago. Universities introduced online registration, which has been working perfectly well through the department's Apply Now program and career guidance program, CATA. We have reached out to students and to say to them, this is what we expect from you in terms of making application. And lastly, covering tuition, transport and accommodation has been happening at TVET colleges, and NSFAS has been covering all of those, for students, between, who are, whose parents earn between 0 and 125,000. What is new is that this is now extended to those whose parents earn jointly to 350,000 rands. And what I must emphasize, which is quite critical, is that more than 90% of household will be covered by this pronouncement by the president. And I think what is also more critical is the fact that it does not necessarily address the available spaces. So we're not all of a sudden going to have new spaces available. It is still on the basis of existing spaces at universities. The question of the expansion of the post-school sector is part of government's long-term strategy, which is dealt with separately from what the president announced last year.
Now let's have a look at the issue of walk-ins and the capacity. We do not want to see a repeat of that UJ situation that happened 3 years ago. What is your stance on that?
Well, it's not my stance. We are requesting parents and students who have not applied last year, but who, since receiving their matric results, feel strongly that they need to go and further their studies, to use the department's central application clearing system, which in essence will then allocate them to available spaces in all the universities. We strongly discourage the walk-ins. We discourage parents and students to go physically to universities. I'm aware that there are 4 universities as we speak where there are long queues, and those universities have in any way prepared themselves for those. They've got personnel who are assisting those who are on the queues. But we strongly discourage this, and more so that it will mainly be those students who are on our catch system who will be given preference, because it is much easier for us to allocate those students to available spots. Let us use a system which has been trusted, which has been used for the last few years, and which we believe has been able to allocate students into available spots.
Well, we do know that higher education is meeting with tertiary institutions today. What are we expecting to be the details and the outcome of this meeting?
Well, nothing spectacular other than, us getting a sense from University Vice Chancellors if so it's essentially a troubleshooting meeting, if I may put it that way. It's day one. The President has made the announcement. How effectively is it being implemented? Are there areas which we need to be concerned about? And as far as I'm concerned, on day one, there has essentially not been, major causes for concern. We'll be monitoring the situation over the next week or two to see how smooth the process is. But we believe that at the time when learning and teaching should commence at universities and at TVET colleges, that it will. This impending chaos that many people are talking about, we do not really anticipate it.
Well, that was myself speaking to Buti Manamela just earlier on with regards to that announcement from President Jacob Zuma regarding free higher education and its rollout system. Moving on.